Provisions is one thing, but how do you actually check on the quality?
So in quality angle, there are four aspects. One is the civil engineering aspect, where you check all the civil engineering things, whether the workmanship is all right. Then there is a plumbing aspect, and next is the electrical aspect. And we also advise people to check for the safety aspects also. One of the common flaws that is noticed in vitrified tiles are the chipping or some damage to the tiles while being laid. So here, the damage could be in the tile supplied, or while laying them, there could be a damage. So this one aspect is to be checked very thoroughly.
So you're saying one aspect is chipping.
Yes.
And the other aspect is actually laying.
Yes. There are two kinds of joints that are done in tiles. One is the gapless joint, what is colloquially called as the paper joint. You just keep two tiles side by side, and the grout is applied in between in one of the tile, and then it is pushed to the side. So when you virtually see from the top, there is hardly any joint visible. So these are colloquially called as paper joints. And another method is the tiles are laid by keeping a small gap in between by using what are known as the spacers. So spacers help you to maintain that gap uniformly throughout, and spacers can be of 2 mm width or even up to 4 mm width depending on the size of the tile.
The tiles is depending on the size of the tile that is being put.
Yes.
And is it possible to have wider spacers even for smaller tiles?
It can be done. It can be done. In some cases, that itself will form a pattern, single shade of tile. You keep about 4 to 5 mm, and while you're grouting, use a different color, a contrast color for the grout. So that itself creates a sort of design. See, when the tile is being laid, how it is laid? You make a proper surface preparation and keep a mortar bed which is level, and then above that you start laying the tile.
So when you say mortar bed, you mean cement?
Yes.
Okay.
Cement plus sand mixture is called a mortar. So that mortar is used as a bed for laying the tile. In some cases, you may be preparing a bed much earlier and use a resin, epoxy resin for laying. So that is another method.
Is epoxy resin, is it different from cement?
Yes, epoxy resin is a kind of plastic. So where you have a resin and a hardener, you mix both of them and then apply it to the substrate or the base below, and also you apply to the tile and then keep the tile one over the other, and that sticks.
Some people prefer cement and some people prefer epoxy. Why is there a differentiation?
Epoxy is a costly material. It's expensive. So if you do it epoxy, the substrate has to be prepared fully flat in one go, and then application becomes easier. Whereas cement mortar is a less expensive option. So and it's easier to control the level in cement mortar, because even if you apply epoxy, you have to have a cement mortar bed which is perfectly flat. Only above that you place the tile.
So when as a homeowner, if my builder tells me that there is a epoxy that is being used, should I look for something, or should I say, okay, this is okay, as in cement, there is no difference. It is just a choice that the person building has taken.
Joining with epoxy is a superior process, because when you come to the next step, whatever fashion you lay the tile, there will be sometimes some debonding at the bottom of the tile, which we call as hollowness.
So when a homeowner is looking at checking the tiles, how should he go about the process?
For a homeowner, it's better to go with some wooden mallet, or even I have seen in places where they take a solid wooden reaper or a stick about 1 meter length, and you just hold it vertically and then tap it. You still get the same result without damaging the tile. That's also a very easily available material for checking the hollowness in tiles.
When you say hollow sounds, why does a tile give that sound? Why is there a hollow sound?
There are many reasons why it happens. One of the foremost reasons is when you're laying with a mortar. Normally, when you add water to the mortar to make it workable, there is a chance that they may add more water to make it easier to work with. It's the easier option chosen by the masons or the tile layer. So this kind of mortar with too much of water when it's used, after drying up, that water content will dry up and create a void. The moisture escapes out and the void is created at the base of the tile. So that creates one of the hollow pockets.
Shouldn't the tiles also be moistened before they are laid?
It is not the tile which is absorbing the moisture. It is that excess water present in the mortar used for bonding. The water has to go out, so it will come out through the joints in a vapor form and then it evaporates. When the water gets evaporated, that space is left void as a void. So that becomes one of the source of hollowness. Same thing happens with granite also. If they don't take proper care while preparing the base, so the hollowness appears even in granite flooring also. Is it so alarming? Hollowness, does it warrant some rectification? Hollowness is a matter of concern, especially in places where there is a lot of traffic or people moving around, or where you keep some furniture and the leg of the furniture sits in the hollow tile, there will be a point load. So there is every chance that it will break.
Is there a degree to which hollowness is okay?
Indian standard codes, IS codes do not talk about hollowness at all. So for any engineering methodology, there has to be something called as a tolerance. So we have done a lot of research, and only the Australian standard talks about hollowness, and as per the Australian standard, about 20% of hollowness is admissible.
When you say 20% of hollowness, what does the homeowner need to look at? And another point is, if a tile is hollow, what can be done? Can you do something? What are the different ways of addressing it?
When you talk about 20%, it is for an individual tile. In a given tile, if the 20% of the area is hollow, it is acceptable. If it is in one corner, especially if it is in one corner, and if it is less than 20% also, the corner, when it is not supported, if somebody walks on that, say for example, a normal person with say about 70 kgs of body weight, when he walks on a tile, when he lifts his leg to walk, the entire 70 kg will be transferred by one leg to that point. So that corner of the tile which is hollow may not be able to withstand. The hollowness has to be looked into subjectively. The 20% can be somewhere in the center or in the periphery, then only it can be allowed.
Okay, now that the homeowner has found that there are some one or two tiles in his whole living room or in his bedroom that is hollow, then what is the next step? What should the homeowner look for? What should the homeowner do?
He has to bring it to the notice of the builder. So they have different methods of rectifying it. One is they can grout by the side of the thing. I was telling you about the type of joint. So where there is a bigger joint with a gap with the spacer I told you, that is a very easy case to rectify. So the grout width is so much, there you can always make a small incision and then use a pressure grouting machine. So pressure grouting machine is a small pump-like machine where the grout, as I told you, the cement mortar, or there are some grouting mixes available, which are of made of plastics or epoxy resin, so which can be injected in pressure, with pressure, into the sides, and it will go and fill up the void below. So this is one method of rectifying. And in case
What
of
you're saying is that if somebody finds a tile that is hollow, then they will drill a hole in the space between the two tiles. They will inject some material that will go and fill the place that is hollow.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, that is if there is a space. If there is a space, or as you said, a spacer is provided. What if it is abutting each other? What if it's right next to each other? Then again you can drill it and you can grout it without a problem.
See, drilling is not possible in some materials. For example, vitrified tiles you can't drill, because the moment you try to drill, there will be a lot of chipping and it becomes more ugly. Going by the replacement part, there are a lot of challenges in that. Specifically talking about the vitrified tiles, they come from the factory in batches. So at that time, if you want to replace, so you will definitely not get the same shade. In case if you really insist that you need to replace, then you should be able to go with a little compromise in shade variation. In case of you're insisting on removal and replacement, so the other challenge what is faced is about while you're breaking that particular tile, it may not be only that tile, even the adjacent tiles will also get damaged.
Can you just take us through the thickness of a marble slab will be much greater than of a tile. So how does the homeowner decide whether something is hollow or not?
In case of marbles, you get different varieties. The Indian marbles come in quite a thick slabs, whereas the imported marbles like Italian marble, so they come in a thin slab. So here also hollowness is quite prevalent. There will be a lot of cracks which are called as veins. So that also need to be repaired after you lay it using a transparent resin or a repairing material, and all the voids should be sealed.
Since marble is a natural material, right, there will be natural shade variation. The patterns will never match because you cannot predict. So, but the only thing is, if while a workman is working with the material or by laying the material, if there is a crack or if there's a chip, then that needs to be addressed in the transparent resin.
The marble being a natural material, these things are inevitable and you cannot do much about it. And in case of grouting, the only option is to drill a hole in one place where there is much of hollowness, or in many places if the area is too much, and then grout it using a pressure grouting machine. And once the void is filled up at the bottom of the tile or the slab, you just seal off the grouting hole with similar colored material. So that is not very noticeable later. If the buyer has a choice between the regular the gapless paper joint or a joint with spacer, I always advise so that the workmanship will be much better. If you're given a choice, or if you can exercise this choice, please go with the joint with spacers.